We're here today with Jennifer Fleiss, who's the co-founder of Rent the Runway, which is a website that brings the latest runway fashions to the consumer for a fraction of the price. Now, you got your company up and launched and funded in less than a year, which is incredibly fast. Tell us, how much money did you and your co-founder initially put into the company?
We initially put about $3,000 each into the company.
That's incredibly low. So with that, you did customer trials, you started building a website. I mean, how far did that $3,000 go?
Well, we raised funding pretty quickly, so luckily we didn't have to pour a ton more of our own money into it, but we did do a lot of things on contingency fees. So we worked with a lawyer who agreed that we didn't have to pay him until we raised money. We worked with the designer who designed some of our web pages for us, and he said, don't pay me until you raise money. If people believe in you and your product and your company, they will oftentimes kind of go out of their way to give you free services up front if they think you're gonna get funded and pay them later.
Jennifer, when you went to talk to VCs who are all male, let's face it, did they think it was a crazy idea? Did they want their wives to come in and vet the idea, or their girlfriends or whatever? I mean, how did you convince them that it was fundable at all?
Yeah, that's a great question. So certainly if you're pitching this concept to, men, many times men in their 50s, 60s, they don't really relate to a concept like Rent the Runway. And they'll wind up asking their wives or their assistants, would you use this? How would you think about this? And one problem we faced is that oftentimes, like, the billionaire wife of a VC is not exactly our customer either. So
Right.
we're like, how do we make this concept?
Probably not.
Right.
Right,
How do
fair
we
enough.
make this relatable to the venture capitalists? And the thing that was the best was the trials that we ran, where we actually purchased dresses at retail, went to undergraduate campuses, and we saw women trying on the dresses, interacting with the clothes. And we'd videotape all of these sessions. And we'd actually invite the VCs to come to the sessions if they wanted to as well, and see these 25-year-old girls, 18-year-old girls trying on dresses, the emotional
Sure, you
connection
had
they
no
had.
problems getting those guys in that room.
That's true, yes.
Really? Was that easy?
Well, I think it's fun to see, women interacting with fashion, and it's just something that guys can't fully understand. I mean, the feeling a woman gets when she puts on a great dress, it's like armor. She feels like she can
Right.
take on the world. So we had to make that tangible to the venture capitalists.
So when they see it, did you really see the aha moment? I mean, did the light go on in their head?
Completely. In general, I think venture capitalists have become much more open to the fact that fashion has so many opportunities, and you've seen so many great fashion startups and the ways in which they've been able to make money, and that there's a huge consumer base out there. So they were open to it more because of that. But then seeing the consumer interact with Rent the Runway's product was really, was just in a different league, and they could tell this is going to be something.
So how soon after that did they write a check?
Very soon after that. I mean, I think not only did that prove to them that there was something for the consumer there that they liked, but it proved something about myself and my co-founder, that we were people who were going to execute on this concept. We weren't just sitting there writing a business plan. We were going to actually go out there and make this happen. So within a couple of weeks, I'd say, after showing these videos and inviting them to trials, we had our first check.
That's amazing. One of the things that you had talked about in our conversation before was that you guys actually never wrote a business plan. And
Right.
that's just a concept that's, a little bit debated in the startup community. Of course, universities will always say the first thing you do is write the business plan, but you're actually not the first entrepreneur we've had on the show that says, don't write it at all. So tell us how you and Jennifer operated.
Well, we don't believe in writing a business plan, especially a long one. I think the best you can do is get out there to your consumer as quickly as you can and see what they're going to say, because an early stage startup, you're going to iterate and change your concept so much anyway that it's not that helpful to put everything right down on paper. In fact, it's a big waste of time, in my opinion.
Jennifer,
Yeah.
you must have had an executive summary of, say, 3 pages, right?
3-pager. We had a 3-page teaser, which we could, send out to VCs if they wanted to know a little bit about the company. It had a mission statement on it. But honestly, it changed so often because every time we'd go out to a trial, we'd learn different things from our consumer. Every time we talked to a designer, we'd learn different things, and we'd iterate on the concept.
How much input did the VCs have as they were seeing the videos and seeing your customers in action? Did they have a lot of input that you found useful?
They did have some input that they found useful, but I think that we found we wanted a VC partner that could provide input, but would also let us run the show a lot. So we took everything with a grain of salt, and I think every meeting we had has taught us something, and we'd consider that. But at the end of the day, we'd listen to the consumer to drive our decisions.
I have to agree. When I raised funding for my company, I got VC money. And the guy sat on the board and came to the meetings, but I couldn't listen to him because he didn't really know the customer.
Yeah.
So you smile and say, thank you so much for the check, but here's what we're going to do.
He always did say how defensive I was, though. I appreciated that.
Well, see, there's many successful ways to fundraise, and this is just one of these examples. There's a bunch of different ways to do it, but the lesson here is that taking your investors to your customers can make all the world of difference.